That's not normal. Everybody got quiet. We're waiting on an alderman. She's trying to find a parking space. Not tonight.
You wanna? No tickets, just park, you know.
Did you see her?
I saw her pulling.
Okay.
I did. She's not moving very fast, or she can't find a spot.
Do we have a obligation to start at 5:30, or can we wait another minute or two?
Well, I mean, it's within your purview as mayor to wait just a few minutes if you like.
She's what? You can see her? Okay. We'll wait. Hi, Jeff. I didn't see you here. Dan? That's okay. I know the parking is limited out there tonight. I'll give you a minute. Okay, everyone ready? All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you all would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Kathy, would you take roll, please?
Alderman Fishley.
Here.
Alderman Franciscus. Here. Alderman Thompson.
Here.
City Administrator Fry, who is absent. Mayor Newberry.
Here.
City Attorney Brewer.
Here?
Alderman Neals. Here. Alderman Watts. She's here.
Here.
And Alderman Denny.
Here.
All right, thank you. Well, I want to welcome everyone here tonight. Good to see public participation. Successful communities are built on a lot of public input, and having all of you here assures me that you're staying up to speed on what's going on in our community. The only thing I've got beyond welcoming everyone tonight is a proclamation of Good Neighbor Week. Would one of the aldermen like to read this document? Do I have a volunteer? I've been on the phone all day, and I'm probably barely going to make it through this tonight.
What about our mayor?
I read it.
If you wouldn't mind, please do so.
Whereas research shows that the neighborhoods are a vital factor in creating safe, healthy, and inclusive communities neighborhood by neighborhood. Whereas the vast majority of Americans do not know the name of their neighbors and believe a good neighbor is someone who is quiet and leaves them alone. Whereas research shows an alarming rise in isolation and loneliness, which impacts physical health, mental health, life expectancy, polarization, and well-being. Whereas current research shows many Americans suffer from a lack of personal relationships, which leads to isolation, depression, anger, and whereas one recent study showed that people who know 6 or more of their neighbors have decreased levels of social isolation and loneliness compared to people who do not. Whereas research shows that developing positive neighbor relationships positively impacts mental health, life expectancy, and physical health for individuals. Whereas research shows that developing positive neighbor relationships positively impacts disaster response, civic engagement, crime prevention, and economic resilience for entire communities. Whereas developing positive relationship means stepping out of your home and connecting with neighbors who can help build a social neighboring is an opportunity to be thankful for those living nearest us, a chance to be a blessing or generous, and an opportunity also to receive. Whereas good neighbors help to create good neighborhoods and vibrant communities, and whereas we know to have good neighbors, you must first be a good neighbor yourself. And whereas City of Lake Ozark has officially voted to make September 28th to October 4th as Missouri Good Neighbor Week. Now therefore be it resolved that Mary Newberry proclaims September 28th to October 4th a Missouri Good Neighbor Week in Lake Ozark, Missouri. You want to finish that? The mayor calls upon the people of Lake Ozark, Missouri to join me in observing this day by introducing yourself to getting to know and celebrating your neighbors. He further encourages you to visit the Missouri Good Neighbor Week website to nominate an engaged neighbor and report your act of neighboring kindness as part of the neighboring movement in Lake Ozark, Missouri.
Very good. Thank you, David. Okay, at this time, citizen communications are at the beginning of all of our meetings. If everyone would make sure that they've got their cell phones turned off or on vibrate. And if you're going to speak tonight, sign in at the sheet provided for you at the podium. You're limited to 3 minutes if it's a non-agenda item, or 5 minutes if it's an agenda item. And as we get into it, at some point I might ask to try to keep equal sides who is speaking on or against what we're going to talk about tonight. So at this point, anyone that would like to speak to the board, please come and let us know what you have to say. Well, I know somebody is wanting to speak tonight.
I will.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so my name's Steve Buckley, and I'm a resident of Four Seasons, and I work out of an office over here in the city of Lake Ozark. I've been a permanent resident of the lake area since about 2012, and I've been a part-time resident since about 2006. I'm here to speak tonight on behalf of the casino. I am in favor of it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's something that should be welcome. I think it's something that is almost a gift horse. When you say a gift horse, you don't look it in the mouth. It's something that can bring the needed revenue to this city and this community. I think it's going to be very organized. I know that corporation. I have a little bit of experience with them in the past. I grew up outside of Atlantic City, right outside of next to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, about an hour away from Atlantic City, and I watched the casino industry grow and come into that city. I was there, I paid attention to it, and I watched what happened. That city was dying. It was on its last legs. And it was well before the casinos ever came there that the city was in trouble. And actually what killed that city, what really killed it, is cars and planes, airplanes and cars, because it was set up by the city of Philadelphia people, New York City, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and they all went there by train. It was before highways were built and cars were built. And then once the cars came on the highways and the airplanes started taking people elsewhere, Atlantic City died. People went elsewhere and they had their option. So in comes the casinos in the 60s. Early 60s was the planning, and the late 60s is when they built it. A lot of rumors, things were going to come. People talked about all the negative things that the casino industry would bring, and it didn't happen. In fact, the city was revitalized, re-energized. The money that came into the city helped fix a lot of the problems that the city had no money to do. So I just wanted to mention that's some experience. Valley was the first one, and they're still there, and they're still thriving and doing well. And they did a nice job for that town. I think to Is this, am I allowed 5 minutes or 3
You
minutes?
still have 2 minutes.
I got 2 minutes to go, okay. I think the amount of revenue has not been decided, but it can be forecasted. And if, I always believe if you're against something, that's fine. You can be against whatever you want to be against. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are against something, then bring some substitute with it. Replace it. Have another idea, something bigger, something better, something stronger. Bring that to the party. Being against something for the sake of being against it, I'm not for that. But I am for if people are against something and they've got a better solution, or they've got a better remedy, or they've got a better or a brighter idea, well then have that, and let's talk about that. But in the case here, there is nothing else. We don't have that, it's not here, it's not coming. There's no other thing to replace this. And I say, hey, when opportunity knocks, open that door. That's it, I made my 5 minutes.
Close. You had about 30 seconds left. Thank you. I will note, I've known Mr. Buckley for several years now. We became friends. He and his wife, Mary Ann, are friends of Tanya and I's. And Mr. Buckley was appointed by Governor Parsons a few weeks ago to the Missouri Human Rights Commission. So it's nice to have that skill set in our community that's right here in the Lake of the Ozarks region representing all Missourians. So thank you for your comments tonight. And congratulations on your appointment.
I hope I can help.
I'm sure you will.
Mayor, I think there's somebody else.
If you don't,
Yes.
sure. My name is Craig Schweigen, and I think I can offer somewhat of a unique perspective on this. I own a house down here in Lake of the Ozarks. I also live up in the Quad Cities in Illinois. I was a police officer from 1985 to 2008. So I was actually a police officer during the period of time that riverboat gambling was enacted in both Illinois and Iowa, 91 and 92. There were actually 3 casinos that were built in our immediate region. One in Rock Island, one in Bettendorf, and one in Davenport. Again, I was a police officer during this period of time, and I mean, the Illinois and Iowa Quad Cities are connected by a multitude of bridges. I can tell you during that period of time that there was no, if you think of like a large adverse impact from gambling, it wasn't there. You know, during my tenure, and I retired as lieutenant with the sheriff's department, during my tenure I served as jail administrator for 2 different periods of time. So if in fact somebody was coming into the jail, I knew who they were, I knew what the crimes were that they were committing. And I can tell you that there was no measurable adverse impact from gambling. It just wasn't there, you know. From a personal side of things, I would favor it, you know. I mean, there's a balance right there in my backyard. You know, it's something that I've been down to all 3 casinos. I can't tell you if there's any problems that I've ever experienced or ever seen. And I tell you, I pay attention to a lot what's going on. You just see me sit with my back to the wall here when I first came in because I want to pay attention to everything that's going on around me. And in the whole period of time that I've lived in the Quad Cities, in the whole period of time that I've visited, you know, all 3 casinos, and I'm not a big gambler. It's a form of entertainment. I can't think of anything adverse that's gone along with it. You know, and I'd be happy to entertain anybody's questions in that regard. So that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Craig. Does anyone have a question for Craig? He's a retired police officer. Any of the board members? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Who would like to speak next? Gail? No? Okay. Okay.
My name's Merlin Vandervoort. I've been a resident of the Lake area for over 25 years, business owner for a long time at the lake as well. Matter of fact, I own the resort Lake of the Ozarks and the Encore Grill right around the corner from the City Hall here. I support the effort to get, casino in here. I think that the Valleys will be a good project, and I'm also supportive of the Indian Casino if it goes through. The one question that I would have, and the one concern that I would hope the developers have a resolution to, or a problem that I think that they need to solve going into it is, you bring in 700 new jobs to our area where jobs are, it's hard to fill any positions around here in the summertime. I mean, you can ask any business owner down here, whether it's hotels, restaurants, what have you. There's not a lot of workforce down here to fill positions, and obviously housing. You bring 500 new residents in here, new workers in here. I think we need to figure out a way where those people are gonna come from, because you don't have an extra 500 or 600 people in our local market. We certainly don't have housing now. I think it's something that can be overcome, but I just hope that whoever develops this project has that in mind, and will also at the same time be thinking about developing, apartment communities or whatnot. I know we've had some new apartment communities coming into the area, but certainly not enough to house that number of people. So that would be one thing that I think the city needs to be considering, looking forward to solve that problem. But again, I am very supportive of the effort to bring a casino here. I thought we should be trying to do this for a long, long time. I think it will bring a lot of great economic development to the area, and I'm all about economic development. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else for or against? No one else wants to speak tonight? All right. Well, I'll close this portion out with a couple of statements. First of all, I would like to address Mr. Vandervoort's comments about housing and staffing here. I think the entire community recognizes the pain that we're all going through with our businesses and having adequate staff and quality staff and housing for them. I'm sure that New York, Paris, St. Louis, at some point, didn't just shut the door when they got 10,000 people and say, no more, we can't have any more in here. So there's a window of time where it's painful when a community's growing. And that window of time can be shortened with good leadership and board members that are paying attention to what we can do to prevent those pains from being too long or extended out in your community. So it's something that we absolutely have to be thinking about. I can tell you that we've got multiple projects in our community. One is right down here at the old Arrowhead Shopping Center. They're planning to build 140 units, is that right? Does anybody recall exactly what that number is? I think it's 140. That's not going to be the cure, just one project, but we've got multiples that are in the queue. So we're certainly working on it. I know Osage Beach has got new apartment and affordable housing projects as well. So the community is aware of that problem. Hopefully the solutions will reveal themselves over the next couple of years. Also wanted to thank the community at large. We've got Miller County Commissioner here. We've got state representative, former state representative, soon to be Mayor of Osage Beach, Mr. Bernetti. I thank you all, Dan Geyer, all of you for being here tonight and observing this, because in my opinion, since the creation of the bridge, community bridge, the hospital some 50 years ago, where we had a group of local physicians get together and build a hospital, this is probably the biggest thing to happen to our community since those things. And we all need to be observing this and watching closely. It's certainly going to transform the city of Lake Ozark should Missourians vote this in November. So, all right, seeing no other interest in speaking tonight, we will close this portion of the meeting and move into our agenda items. Alderman, does anyone have any questions regarding our consent agenda? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Thompson and Alderman Francesco, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Krista, did you vote?
Sorry, I couldn't come off mute. Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving into old business. The first item is Bill 2024-41, which is the toy box plat. Before I read the bill, I want to point out to the committee that I need to recuse myself should there be a tie vote on this because I represent the project as a real estate broker. Bill 2024-41 is an ordinance approving a plat for the toy box at the Lake Condominium subdivision. This is a second reading. Does anyone have any questions? None? All right, do I have a motion to hold the second reading by title only? Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Francesco,
Second.
second from Alderman Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Kathy, will you read by title only, please?
An ordinance approving a plat for the toy box at the Lake Condominium subdivision, second reading.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the second reading?
Motion. Second.
Alderman Thompson and Alderman Neals?
John Francisco.
I'm sorry, Alderman Francesco and Neals. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Krista, we didn't hear you again.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All right, do I have a motion to put the bill on its final passage?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Thompson and Francisco, and Kathy, would you take roll, please?
Alderman Ridgely.
Yes.
Alderman Franciscos.
Yes.
Alderman Thompson.
Yes.
Alderman Neals.
Yes.
Alderman Watts. Yes. Alderman Denny.
Yes.
Very good. Bill number 2024-41 now becomes ordinance 2024-41. Moving on to Bill 2024-42, an ordinance approving a plat for the Wallace subdivision. This is an amendment to the North Shore Terrace subdivision, and this is a second reading. Any questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to hold the second reading by title only?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Thompson, Alderman Neals, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Kathy, would you read by title only, please?
An ordinance approving a plat for the Wallace subdivision, which is an amendment to the North Shore Terrace subdivision plat, second reading.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the second reading?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Francesco and Alderman Ridgely, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, do I have a motion to place the bill in its final passage?
Motion. Second.
Alderman Thompson and Alderman Neals. And Kathy, I need a roll call, please.
Alderman Ridgely.
Yes.
Alderman Franciscos.
Yes.
Alderman Thompson.
Yes.
Alderman Neals.
Yes.
Alderman Watts. Yes. And Alderman Denny.
Yes.
All right, bill number 2024-42 now becomes ordinance 2024-42. All right, that's it for old business. Under new business, the first thing up tonight is the Osage River Gaming and Valley's presentation and reveal. So I'd like to invite those members up one at a time to speak. And it looks like we've got Andy Pruitt with us.
Thank you. My name is Andy Pruitt. I'm here representing Osage River Gaming, which is now being known as Yes on 5, Committee Yes on 5 for the ballot November 6th. I'd like to thank the board for giving us a chance to speak tonight. And I'd like to thank everybody that came out. I see a lot of business leaders and a lot of people who have dedicated their lives to public service here tonight. And I know you guys are excited about this project and what it's going to do for this community and this region. I prepared a speech, but I also was thinking about the negatives that would come out tonight, as far as police force and all the things that the city may or may not be ready for the growth for this project. But I am confident that the city has the resources and will be ready for the growth that we're going to experience with this. And so I'm going to skip that and just go ahead and introduce our partners in this venture, Chris Jewett and Craig Eaton with Bally's, and give them the time.
All right, very good. Either or.
I'll go first.
All right, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Newberry, Board of Aldermen. My name's Craig Eaton. I'm Senior Vice President at Bally's Corporate. And we don't take lightly the invite of you having us in here. I have never been to Lake Ozark. Watch the show, because everyone in the Northeast says, oh, the show. And then everyone's got stereotypes and all these things, so it's, I took a lot of good-natured ribbing, but I was able to get in here early this morning and see this beautiful area, and I just want to thank you for having us here. We do not take it lightly. That being said, I also want to thank the Pruitts, Gary, Andy. We've had a chance to work with them now for months, and they truly are a champion for this area. They've been great. Espousing the beautiful area this is and how economic development can keep going. So it's been a great partnership, and want to thank them personally. I'm going to do probably the boring part, so I will not be that long. Chris is going to do the more interesting part. He's going to talk about the actual what we're thinking about for the project. So I'll try to go fairly quickly through the corporate part, but I just want to talk a little bit about us, about Bally's, just so you have an understanding. We were a small company back in 2005, one casino and a horse track in Colorado. We've now grown to almost $2.5 billion company. We have 15 land-based casinos. There's a map right here showing that, and over here, in 10 states and growing. And we also have a very large interactive, so that's going online and doing iGaming and sports betting. Over $1 billion company sector that does that, and that was part of because we bought a company called Games in London, England. So we truly are an international company, and we're very proud of that. Quickly going to the map of exactly where we are, and at least in the casino and resort area. Again, sorry that it's buried down there, but I know you've got decks in front of you. But we go from our flagship in Lincoln, Rhode Island, and that's where I'm based, in Providence, Rhode Island. That's our corporate headquarters. East there, west we go all the way to South Lake Tahoe, Nevada. We go as south as Biloxi, Mississippi on the Gulf. North as Chicago. We have a very large project that we're building in Chicago, about $2 billion worth, right in the city. And that will be opening in 2026 sometime. So we are not only do we have existing, but growing. We also have another slide, and it's down there, and some of you can't see it, but hopefully in the deck. These are just select properties. It just shows the type of properties we're proud to build. We're here to build quality, nice-looking properties. What the city wants. We're not here to come in and say, take this. We like collaboration. We want to hear input. And we're going to work with you in terms of what you think looks nice. So we're very proud. We want to make this work. Chris reminded me that our architects, JCJ, just got an award, a very prestigious award for our redo of the Kansas City, Missouri casino, for the way they reworked it, and they will be the architects on this project if it goes through. So we're happy to have them. Chris can talk more about that. Sorry to make that drop. Couple more quick slides. Our resort operations capabilities. It's many. Start with casino gaming. That is right. Obviously, that's what we do. And slot machines, table games, anything you would see in a typical casino, that's what we do, and we're experts in. Hotels, almost all our properties have hotels, some very large, some small, but we certainly know how to run those. Convention and meeting space, depending on the demand, we will have it, and we're proud to host as many conventions and meetings that demand meets. Restaurants, bars, nightclubs, that goes without saying. All our properties have a lot of those. entertainment venues, good acts to very good acts. We own the Hard Rock, as I said, Biloxi. Hard Rock connotes music. We have some really, really cool acts down there, and depending again on the demand, we can certainly bring those type of acts up here. World-class golf. We bought the former Trump Ferry Point in Bronx, New York. Have rebranded it Bally's Ferry Point. It's you can literally see Manhattan from the course. If any golfers here, it's a must play. It's beautiful. So we are definitely used to operating courses like that. Finally, I just want to end with community support. Some of what I do is getting involved in the community and kind of overseeing that. And we know we're big, right? We're 2.4 billion, like I said. But look, the proof's in the pudding. I can sit up here and say, oh, we're going to do things for this community, and you guys can say, oh, that sounds great. But until we actually come in here, it's up to us to show you. But I can tell you that the spirit of Bally's and in the London company, they take it even to a new level. We've actually learned from them. They are unbelievable in their communities. But we are all about volunteerism. Our employees really take pride volunteering, doing local events around the community, local sponsorships, many, and charitable giving. And again, I can say it until we come in and prove it, but I'm very confident to say that if we're lucky enough to join your beautiful community, you'll see us being, not just coming in, but actually being part of it. And we understand the workers, they're gonna be, a lot of them are gonna be in this community. So we look forward to that. And with that, I think I am done the corporate stuff, and Chris can actually talk about the project, unless anyone has questions, obviously.
Anyone have a question for Craig? No? All right.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
I'm gonna take a swig of this. I feel like I've got the same syndrome as you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us. My name is Christopher Jewett, Senior Vice President of Corporate Development for Bally's Corporation. My primary responsibilities are oversight of all of our strategic growth initiatives throughout the company. With that being said, I've been project lead on the Bally's Ozark project. We actually first started talking with the Pruitts back in 2022. We've obviously geared up and worked through the initiative petition, now working towards the referendum. With that being said, we've actually been in Missouri now since 2020. We acquired the Kansas City property from El Dorado prior to COVID and have since turned that over twofold in terms of revenue and profitability, reinvested upwards of $75 million into the asset. It was a struggling asset in a market they were being overtaken from a market share perspective. So we're highly confident in our abilities, and we're invested in the state already. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about site context. I guess without having the presentation for everyone, I think the first slide that we'll talk about is this top one, right over here on the left. So an ideal casino development site and project has a few key factors that we typically evaluate coming in. First and foremost, we look for visibility and accessibility. So this site is perfect for that. It's got confluence of 3 major thoroughfares to bring visitors into the site and very proximate to the development. So you've got Route 54, 134, and 244, all right at the heart there. Secondly, existing infrastructure and growth potential. First and foremost, we obviously have highway infrastructure to get in. There's also local shopping centers and future development ongoing. We've chosen a great partner that's fully invested here and is going to continue to invest here. And there's more hotel and housing for future employees. I'll touch upon that question in a bit. Third, and maybe perhaps the most important from my experience going into new markets, there's always a little bit of fear from the neighbors. And I don't want to use this term loosely, but NIMBYism, not in my backyard. I will say this, we're not in anyone's backyard. You can clearly see on the map there's nothing really around this except for highway. So no homes will be affected. This will really be a commercial development. With that being said, I'm going to move down to that middle slide. This is a zoomed-in view. It shows the proximity to the highways. Again, excellent site access. Got great proximity to Eagles Landing Shopping Center, and then local amenities like the golf course, the dam and bridge, where you can get in and out quickly. Now I guess to what everyone really cares about, which is the site master plan, which is this top slide right here in the middle. So this will give you a little better idea of what we're looking at from a master plan standpoint. Keep in mind that this is conceptual in nature. This is our first cut. With that being said, we expect this to be a phased development with the casino and hotel leading the way if we're successful. There's two main entrances to the site. You can see on the left, which is north, and these are outlined with the one, and then on the south, right off of 54. The casino hotel is outlined on the north end of the site. It's got the number 2 and 3. Number 2 is the casino box. Talk a little bit about that in a moment. Number 3 is the hotel. We're talking about a 300-room hotel, rooftop bar, rooftop pool. The future phases, we're incorporating a mixed-use event center, which is number 5 on the screen. Right now, that's prescribed as 150,000 square feet. And then mixed-use retail, as our partners are very experienced in that area. We believe this will all be built at some point in time. I don't think we have this last slide here, but I'll talk a little bit about it. Just talk a little bit about the amenities that you can see here. So from a gaming standpoint, obviously that's our core business. Talking about a 50,000 square foot gaming floor. To encompass state-of-the-art slots and tables, roughly 900 to 1,000 slots is what we're envisioning today, and 25 to 35 table games. We're also going to have about a 15-story, 300-room hotel. You can see that in a couple of these renderings here and in the middle on the bottom, which is beautiful. Most likely probably be a flag product, still TBD on that. And then from a later phase development, the event center will be mixed use, and we're envisioning this being able to be utilized for not only conventions and meeting, but also being able to convert and do entertainment, concerts, shows, events, graduations, larger scale events. And then retail, I'll leave that up to our partners because that's their cup of tea. So there's a few things that Alderman and Mayor I'll address. I know there's always a lot of questions that come about with a casino. First and foremost, what is the benefit to the local community? I think first and foremost, this is going to be an economic driver. There's 5 million visitors roughly that come to Lake of the Ozarks each year. This will be another form of entertainment. You'll drive more traffic than just that 5 million today. You'll add another hotel product, which quite frankly, every time I've been here, I've always heard that there's not enough at peak season. We actually heard that today. I know Craig did from the general manager over at Margaritaville. So with that being said, this will also create hundreds of living wage permanent jobs and hundreds of construction jobs over a few year period as the product is phased out. Our timeline, we've pegged about an 18-month give or take construction period, assuming once we get through the referendum and then all the various regulatory approvals, as we have to get approval through the Missouri Gaming Commission. And then I think the biggest community benefit is the significant tax generation. So we're talking about Amendment 5, which requires 100% of the funds to be spent on early childhood literacy programs. It's about $14 million is the forecast. Now the argument's going to be that doesn't go here. Well, yes it will, I think. I'm not in the state legislature, but I think rural schools will be fighting for that money to advocate for your local schools. I think additionally the hotel tax, the sales tax, jobs, additional revenue from all of the other businesses that will benefit from this will bring in additional funds to the city, and real estate taxes will definitely contribute to the city coffers. Second question we get most often is how do we ensure responsible gaming is undertaken at our properties? So first and foremost, we have a very robust responsible gaming practice, and we already do this in Missouri. I will tell you all of our employees, including Craig and myself, we're not customer facing day to day. We all go through responsible gaming training annually. It's a few hours a year for us not being customer facing, and even more so for folks that are on site. From a responsible gaming standpoint, we actively enforce the state's voluntary self-exclusion plan. All of our properties, including the one here in Kansas City, has assets, printouts available at any time throughout the property, typically at the Players Club or where folks engage in food and beverage. There's signage across the property. All marketing materials include phone numbers and websites where folks can go and get help. We also, in certain states, and I'm not sure if Missouri is one of these, you have the ability, if you're a family member and you have someone in your family that you believe has a gambling problem, you can call in and report somebody to see if someone will reach out and help. With that being said, I know it's always a common question, so we figured we would address that right away. I'm glad we had someone address security. I guess, side note, I actually worked for Delaware North for 10 years when it was Jumers before I actually sold it to Bally's, and then Bally's hired me. So we can talk about that after. But first off, top-notch security and surveillance. I always say that committing a crime in a casino is probably the dumbest place you could commit a crime. And what do I mean by that? First and foremost, all of our employees are trained. We're going to have hundreds of employees. If you see something, say something. Right? Employees want to feel safe at work. Right? If we don't have a safe environment, then our customers won't feel safe. They don't want to come there. I've seen other markets where certain casino companies don't take safety seriously, and they typically have a much lower market share than others. With that being said, moving forward, today, if you think about all the technology that we have, license plate readers, facial recognition, concealed weapons detection, the cameras, this is an okay camera, I'll tell you, the cameras, we're gonna have hundreds of cameras in our casino. They can zoom in on the dollar bill and see what the serial number is. Dumbest place you could do, we also partner with, typically in most markets in Missouri, state police will be there. We'll obviously have your local police presence. Typically in most markets, we have a weekly meeting from a public safety standpoint with the local market and police, so that will be ongoing. And then I guess lastly, how can you stay informed on the project? Obviously we've got bumper stickers, t-shirts, there's a website, it's www.yeson5.com. There's fact sheets available, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I've got a couple questions. Realistically, if this passes the vote, how quickly would you guys begin? How soon do you think you'd have something up and running? Will you be doing the hotel at the same time you do the casino?
So the goal is to have the hotel at the same time as the casino. I think about an 18-month development plan. Once we have all the various approvals, we've obviously got to go through gaming approvals, and then obviously local entitlements and whatnot.
Do you have any idea about how long that period of time? Let's say we get.
I'm not going to quote a period of time and put our regulator on the spot.
I have a question. On your rendering, on your second slide there, to the far right, there's buildings. What?
These ones here?
No, second. Yeah.
In the back.
Way in the back. What are those
Way in
buildings?
the back.
These ones, I think they're just rendered future buildings.
They're houses.
It's houses.
Yeah, there's 200 units of apartments, workforce housing that's planned for the back in that valley.
Yeah, so our partner, I guess I'll address the job issue. I guess a few things, right? I think one, it's actually a massive benefit that we have a property in Kansas City. It's actually a close enough market whereby we can regionalize some of the management positions. I think number two, that market actually is a little bit slower in the summer. Typical casino business is in most markets outside of like Atlantic City where people are traveling and going to the beach. They're typically busier in your shoulder season. So we have the ability to utilize and share employees there. Number three, we've obviously got an ideal local partner who doesn't want to cannibalize their own employees, so we're going to work together in order to ensure that there's affordable housing and we can bring in enough folks to to work at this property.
Would that be built at the same time as the casino and the hotel?
The housing, I can't speak for our partner.
Alderman, any other questions for Chris?
Will you be seeking a TIF or tax abatement for housing line of this project?
We are not building the housing, so I'll tell you, we're not on the housing.
But you don't know for sure.
We are not going to be the
For
owner,
your
owner of the land. I would have to defer to our partner.
And did you know you'll be seeking a TIF or
So
tax
it
abatement?
is not, we will not be doing a TIF on the hotel. The rest of the development, we probably will be doing a TIF for the convention center, which loses money in any convention center. Hotel, housing, we'll be looking for tax incentives to do the rest
I think,
get it going.
I think 2 to 3 years is probably a fair
So-
ballpark.
Get it opened or get it started?
I think to get it open, all
Get
in.
it open.
All right, hang on one second. I didn't say this earlier, and I was kind of going with the flow here because there wasn't nearly as many participants in the crowd tonight that I thought there would be. But typically, at this stage, the public comments are limited to just the board members at this point. After the meeting, you guys are welcome to visit with the Pruitts or with the Valley's staff members. So go ahead, Carl.
So if we're looking 3 years, right now our police staff is pretty much covered, right? We're about where we need to be. But at the same token, you guys are working 80 hours on an event weekend, pretty much. So we have the issue of, and I've had it been said before, that, you know, Friday and Saturday down on the strip, our 2 officers are down there, which means they're not other places. So we know we're gonna need to increase our police force before it's open. So as a board, I think we need to be aware of the fact that we need to plan ahead for our police department so that in 2 or 3 years, we have the funding to do it, because we're gonna need it before the tax stuff comes in.
Without a doubt. I think we're more proactive board now than the city of Lake Ozark's ever had. So I don't think that's gonna be an issue. We'll be focused on all of those items, including housing and staffing, because it affects all of our business owners.
I've had questions on the north entrance that's showing on here. Is that gonna go both ways on, or are you just gonna go out and turn right and go north?
Right here?
The other one.
That's
Oh,
probably
sorry,
an Andy
Yeah,
question.
the north entrance, so you'll have one right turn in and one right turn out. And I don't think we've determined, I think we've gotta work through the, right, this is state, so state DOT to determine that.
I just wondered if that had been discussed.
I know you guys.
I don't believe that they'll allow us to do anything other than a right in, right out.
Yeah.
In our conversations with the state, they don't look at that as a very safe intersection. So the majority of our traffic is all going to the half clover, which was designed to handle this type of traffic for a large scale retail center, entertainment complex. That other exit entrance is gonna be mostly emergency vehicles and just right in, right out.
Sounds like a really good solution, and I do know that your south entrance is fantastic for that, so.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be perfect.
Good, I've had some ask me that, so I think right in, right out, great.
Anyone else? We lost Krista, so
She had to go.
if we have no further questions, do you have any closing comments, or Andy, anyone?
I'll just say I appreciate the time. We've obviously, been on a long road, but there's a long road ahead. We look forward to working with the entire community, not only the board, if we're successful. We view this as a community project, not a Bally's or a Pruitt project. Thank
Very
you.
good.
I just really appreciate the update and getting some information on it.
Of course.
Start to let the community know what's going on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. I think in general, I would just say, summarizing what our community is looking at here. If we all think about what's happened in Lake Ozark for the last 40 years, and I'm not just talking the city of Lake Ozark, but the entire region, we've had thousands and thousands and billions spent on residential components, but we have not had the same balance in retail. And without retail development here, our cities go lacking the funding to have adequate roads, sewer and water systems, enough revenue to have a good quality police department, public works. And so we're going to have to embrace some of these projects. And a project like this is just an absolute no-brainer in my mind. It's gonna bring in, according to the state auditor's office, approximately $2.5 million to Miller County and the city of Lake Ozark. That would represent about 30% of our $8 million annual budget right now that the city of Lake Ozark has. I don't think the average citizen or people around our community recognize. I'm not gonna pick on Mayor Harmison and Osage Beach, but in contrast, Osage Beach has $47 million in annual revenue. We have $8 million, but we've got 90 miles of roads, sewer, water to deal with. That's why this road's never been improved. We don't have the money, folks. We had to get very creative, and this board adopted kind of a new ideology on how to address our situation, but we shed police dispatch. We're now shedding municipal court, and those things are gonna open up a revenue stream that's equivalent to $650,000 a year. we're putting that money towards our roads, because that's what cities are supposed to do. They're supposed to provide you your city roads and your city sewer and water. So projects like this, in my opinion, they're just long overdue. They should have been here 25, 30 years ago. And I'm very happy that you all have continued the efforts, although it's been a very tremendous hurdle to get where we're at today. And there's still work left to be done in November. But I think it's one of the best things that the city of Lake Ozark is facing. So that's my summary on it, and I do thank you all for the efforts and the hard work you put into getting to where we're at today. All right? Any other aldermen have any final comments? We're going to move on to another agenda item. All right. We purposely put this at the front, so I'm going to give a minute or two for those that do not want to stay around for the remainder of the meeting to head home tonight.
Are you okay if I just come tomorrow and get those things out?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna leave these speakers.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Okay. All right, the next thing on our agenda is Bill number 2024-43, an ordinance authorizing acceptance and conveyance of a permanent utility easement to the city of Lake Ozark, authorizing its recordation and for further authority in connection therewith. This is the first reading, and Matt?
This is a utility easement between us and the property owner. Basically built a house blocking our access to the pump station. So this easement encompasses one whole side of his house. The property owner built some steps down the side of the hill alongside his house for us to access the pump station. This will give us the utility easement should we ever need to go in there and do any excavation or replace any lines or electric lines or anything like that.
All right. Anyone have questions? Do I have a motion to hold the first reading by title only?
You got it.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I had a motion by Alderman Francesco, a second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Kathy, note that Krista is no longer with us, so we now are down one alderman. Okay. Will you read by title only, please?
An ordinance authorizing acceptance of the conveyance of a permanent utility easement to the city of Lake Ozark, authorizing a recordation and for further authority in connection therewith. First reading.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the first reading?
Motion. Second.
All right, Alderman Francesco and Alderman Neals. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we'll have our second reading at our next board meeting. Bill number 2024-44 is an ordinance to amend Lake Ozark Municipal Code, section 125.320, pertaining to court costs for the Lake Ozark Municipal Court Division to the Miller County Circuit Court Associate Division. This is the first reading. Chris, Attorney Rohr.
Yeah, Mayor, this is just a step in several to come between now and hopefully February, when we'll transfer the court officially to the Circuit Court in Miller County down in Tuscumbia. This is simply reflecting the difference in court cost structure between our municipal court and what the county state court costs are. So this is one of the requirements that OSCA has for us to do the transition.
Saving any money?
Yes, we will certainly. Yes. Yes. Definite savings.
All right, any other questions? Do I have a motion to hold the first reading by title only?
Motion.
Second.
Alderman Thompson, Alderman Ridgely. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Kathy, will you read by title only?
An ordinance to amend Lake Ozark Municipal Code Section 125.320 pertaining to court costs for the Lake Ozark Municipal Court Division to the Miller County Circuit Court Associate Division.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the first reading?
Motion. Second.
Alderman Francesco and Alderman Ridgely, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we'll have the second reading at our next board meeting. No other bills tonight. We've got a couple of resolutions. Resolution 2024R-44 is a resolution approving the purchase of portable bypass pump. Matt?
Again, you guys recall back to the work session back in the spring when I discussed with you the developer out on HH was building a condo building. Part of their requirement in our agreement with the two condominium complexes was the developers pay for any upgrades. This is the purchase of the bypass pump that was discussed. They are ready to move forward with that. Once approved, we will get that pump ordered. I believe it's 10 to 12 weeks on delivery.
12 weeks since we ordered it?
12 weeks to get it.
Oh, 12 weeks to get it?
Yes, it's a portable bypass pump.
That's the only place to buy them?
We're paying 20% of that cost.
It was 20,000. I don't know what the percentage is, but the developer's 78,000 something. It's in the, I don't have it in front of me, it's in the resolution there.
78.
Yeah.
Is that something we can use somewhere else?
We have several places we can use it if needed. Hopefully we don't need it.
I move to approve 2024-44.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion to approve by Alderman Ridgely and a second by Alderman Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, last, we'll get two things. Application for special events, Chief.
Surplus property.
Oh, I'm sorry, skipped one. Resolution 2024R-45 is a resolution to dispose of surplus property. Anyone have any questions with that? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All right, Alderman Thompson, Alderman Francesco, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Chief, you're up. Would you mind to speak to us about the special events?
Yeah, we have two special event applications. One is for the Osage Homecoming Parade on October 7th, and the second is for the Christmas Parade on December 14th. These applications are very much like they were in the past. The only thing Harrison and I and the event committee asked that might be different different this year than years in the past is we just asked them to maybe provide a couple more portable restrooms along the parade setup route and then again along the actual parade route, mostly on the strip area. Just a lot of people, and every year it gets bigger and bigger. So, some of those businesses don't mind if customers come in and use their restrooms, but some of those folks down there aren't actually customers, they're just observers. So maybe a few more portable restrooms is really the only thing we asked different this year. Aside from that, it's business as usual for our department. Our guys are getting pretty good at events and parades and things like that, so shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary.
Very good. These events generally have everybody on their best behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the School of the Osage Homecoming Parade?
Second.
All right, I had a motion from Alderman Neals and a second from Alderman Francesco. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, do I have a motion to approve the Christmas Parade being held on Saturday, December 14th?
Motion.
Second.
All right, I had a motion from Alderman Thompson and a second from Alderman Francesco. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda items. Do I have any communications from board members?
I have something that I'd like to bring up. I wasn't going to bring it, but we have a small crowd now. I have concerns with the Bike Fest and what happened on the strip. And I did not attend, but I had word that there was nudity on the strip. And I want to know if we have an ordinance, or if we can do an ordinance that will prevent it from happening again. It wasn't an artistic showing that it should have been. It was disgusting.
Okay,
So, Chief,
Chris, you're up.
Ellis?
Well, if you could address the legality of it.
Well, I'll just address one thing that we did see was, the event organizer had an area in one of their tents for body painting. Now, there are specific rules they have to abide by for that. Anytime you get an event of that crowd, an event of that nature, you're probably gonna see some people trying to bend the rules a little bit. I can tell you, from our officer's standpoint, they didn't see anything that was blatant and obvious, and in this type of situation, sometimes it's not gonna be obvious, because when you're body painted and things like that, they have certain things they have to wear for coverings, and oftentimes it's so minimal that unless you're up close and personal, you're not gonna be able to tell one way or another, so.
I've seen pictures.
Well, I was gonna say, I am interested to hear on what we could do as a city to address that. We'd have to work through the board and city attorney.
And it was in daylight when children were down there.
Yeah, we have, it's an interesting event, and that event is gonna bring interesting, challenges our way. There's no doubt.
A challenge on another event, Jeep Fest.
Yeah,
What would prevent it from being in Jeep Fest?
yeah, it's a question, it's a great question we're gonna have to answer.
Okay.
Chris, is there a state statute that disallows?
So there are some state statutes that deal with nudity in liquor establishments. We have an ordinance on the books that deals with genitalia. Female breast is generally not, you'll find definitions that include it, don't include it, but generally speaking, genitalia is referred to as the male-female sex organ, to which the female breast is generally, from a medical standpoint, not considered to be genitalia. There are some municipalities that have specific ordinances that address the female breast, or definitions that include the female breast. Ours is, I think, awfully vague at this point. Chief, you probably looked at it, I'm sure, as well, and your guys. So I will, it is a controversy that is pretty widespread. There's organizations that go around whenever there's a community that tries to pass one of these, or free the breast. And, there's people that will make an argument that equal protection of the law, we don't require men to cover their breasts. And so you get into some of those arguments, but certainly there have been communities that specifically address female breast. And I mean, certainly we can bring you something that does that.
We do have one for the Gentlemen's Club, I believe, they have to.
Liquor
cover.
establishment, yes.
And that's indoors. This was
Yes.
outdoors.
Yes,
In public,
yes.
with children.
Do you have pictures of nudity, or when you say nudity, entire body nudity, or are you talking about upper body nudity?
Upper body.
Yeah, only? And were they painted? Or were they just bare chested?
If you want to call that painting.
Well, I'm trying to
They-
identify
yes.
Let's
if
say
you are aware of something that I'm not
It
aware
wasn't
of.
painted that it would look like a lion and the eyes were the nipples. It wasn't. It was disgusting.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed, like, and I was trying to get answers on, hopefully you guys might. When we do these events down on the strip and they have vendors down there now, I know if they have a beer tent, they have to come to us and apply for a license, right? Or a special event. But a vendor doesn't have to, that's up to the organizer, correct? Would there
Correct,
be?
but they still have to, I mean, they still, depending on what they're doing, have to have the proper licensing to be a vendor in our area.
So would it not, the same way we ask that they fill out a license for the liquor booths, have them also sign, I mean, our fee is $15, okay, it's not gonna kill a vendor or an organizer, to have the vendors come in and get approved for a vendor's license for, say, that booth, and at that time, we have the right to say no or yes.
Carol, you don't want the vendors coming in here. You would, during an event like that, you'd have 150 vendors coming up here, and city staff would be bogged down with that. The event organizer's got to control that. And if we've got an issue with body painting and the board feels compelled to do something about it, then Attorney Rohr will get in the weeds on the legalities of it and bring us something that we could consider. But I don't think you don't want to put that on Kathy and Harrison and have to deal with 100.
Same like they do with the liquor license, the organizer brings us the list.
You have one, you don't have 150. You're putting a workload on them. If you had to have every single vendor for every event come to City Hall, we're gonna be out of business. You don't have enough time in the day to do all that activity. I know Kathy's only been here a few months, but I'm pretty sure I can speak for that role.
And a lot of times, they don't even come get a license, a merchant, occupational license. So, they're supposed to, but they don't always, because I didn't do one for a body painting.
No, because it's under the purview of the event organizer.
Yeah, but they still.
He allows all of those
Right, but they
entities.
still have to come in and get an occupational license with us.
Is the problem afterwards
So
or
they
what's
still have
going
to
on?
come in,
No,
they're supposed to
Or
come in.
they're-
that's not an accurate statement, is it, Chris? They do not have to come in.
Not each individual,
You just have a tent.
The event organizer might do that on behalf of everybody, but you're not getting those folks in here one at a time.
yeah, the non-liquor. But, so, just real briefly, I don't wanna get, as the mayor said, too deep in the weeds on this tonight, but, so those communities that do have ordinances basically talk about there has to be at least an opaque covering that covers the nipple and areola. I think when it comes to painting of breasts, you will run into some judgment calls on that, because, I mean, simply, there are, let's face it, there are women down there at different times during different events that are not wearing bras, that have on a very light, thin t-shirt that you can identify what's under it, so to speak. So,
Well, it's just like the ones that
so-
were in their G-strings and their cheeks were painted.
Yeah, but I've been down there
Again.
enough Saturday afternoon with them coming up from the parasail, and some of them are wearing, I can't.
yeah, again, and the buttocks is not,
I know.
yeah.
But
So let me
my
ask you
whole
this.
point is there's young children coming down there. And people that haven't been here before would bring their children down there because the kids love motorcycles, and what do they see? That.
There's a warning sign. Warning.
You see it on the lake as
I
well.
think,
So
I think once anyone's attended that, one time, that's not right.
let me ask you this. Are you familiar with, would the state statute not allow us to pass an ordinance if they're using these opaque things that go over their nipples and they're stuck to them and then painted over all of that? Is there anything we can do to prevent them from doing that? If we
No,
pa-
no, if they.
So we could pass an ordinance, but it wouldn't mean anything because you can't legally tell them they can't do that.
They had
Pasties.
Pasties.
But they did not have it.
Yes, they did.
I didn't
I
see
saw
one.
pictures.
I saw them do it.
I saw pictures
Okay,
I
show the
I saw
pictures to
myself.
Chief Bourne, and if they can identify.
in the afternoon.
I think that most of those did have those on because the body painter wouldn't paint, the that was doing it wouldn't paint one without it on. Unfortunately, it's hard to tell, but I don't know that there's anything we can do about it.
So there's no way that as a city, when we do an event and we have the event down on the strip and we have a organizer do it, there's no way that there can't be conditions as to what type of vendors we want down there?
Well,
I'm trying to word it carefully, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, as an event, as we approve an event.
yeah, you want to put,
Can we not, as a
no body
city,
paint.
make a list? Well, no, we could say nothing that pertains to nudity.
Okay.
And nothing that, I mean, at least set up some type of guideline.
I mean, I think this is
The
heavy.
definition of nudity, that comes back into play, does it?
And we have
I
a
think this
stipulation
is-
on the gentleman's club.
I think this is heavy
Clearly.
regulated by the state. I think we just need to let Chris do his thing.
Yeah, we can pose all these questions at a later date, because we could talk about it until the dogs come home tonight and nobody has an answer. Let Chris look into it. If state statutes allow us to pass an ordinance that would prevent them from having these opaque things put on them and painted over, then I guess we could consider that. But if state statute doesn't, we're just peeing in the wind. We're gonna create something we can't enforce, and, you know, I doubt his staff wants to go around and look at every one of these gals and try to uncover whether they have an opaque thing over their nipple. Nor would I.
Ask the vendor just so they can close them, or is it them walking around afterwards?
Yeah, they're walking around after they get them painted, yeah.
The garbage eater.
Okay.
I guess somebody has to keep us. Okay.
Yep, I don't think we wanna become those areas, but I think there's probably some things that we just simply can't,
Well,
we can't prevent from happening.
Well, I think
Okay.
it's disgusting for children to be there.
All right, any others, Alderman comments?
I do want to say that I was down there for Bike Fest and the shootout, and these guys did a phenomenal job, absolutely phenomenal. And the backup that you had down there was amazing. Thank you, because without you, we could have a whole lot more problems. And you guys did a great job. And I was down there on and off at different times during the day and at night, so.
Yeah, I would agree. Of course, I ran into Chief and some of your other staff over the weekend. I was down there a couple of different times. It was a great event, big turnout. I did get with Attorney Rohr and Harrison to make a request that our events committee consider that the event organizer needs to make it known that burnouts on the strip are not appropriate. Even though our road down there hasn't been repaired, it's not really relevant. It's unsafe practice. I know it goes on, you're not gonna stop all of it, but we need to start being proactive and getting the word out that it's not gonna be acceptable. And especially when we get that new road down there, you're destructing city property when you're doing a burnout on an old road or a new road. And if that's what it takes if we have to pass an ordinance on it, but it needs to be clearly known by the event organizer, it's not acceptable. Because we had somebody that ran into the crowd. And was somebody injured bad or not?
One was taken to the hospital in that incident, and then a few minutes later, we had another one where a gentleman was walking across the street and got hit by another guy doing the same thing. He was taken to the hospital also.
Yeah,
And I think
and that stuff's uncalled for.
your guys have written tickets on burnouts before the traffic.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah. So
We try to stay on top of
They
it,
do.
because once one or two start, it just goes
Yeah.
downhill quick.
Yeah, it all starts about that 10 o'clock
Of
hour.
course, we look like, yeah, it does, and we look like the fun haters, but it's out of a concern for public safety.
Well, look, the event organizer can create a burnout pit on
Yeah.
private property down there and let them burn their tires off if they want. But not on our city streets and right away.
no place.
What about the new road? Are they?
In fact, they have a burnout pit in Sunrise Beach. Tanya and I went by it and she said, "What was that?" They had bikes parked a quarter of a mile up from that, and people were walking down to that thing and they were burning them off. I could see the smoke when I was a mile away from it. But if they want to do that on the strip, then they're going to have to get it in private property.
What about the strip one? Have we heard when they're gonna start on that? Next week?
Repaving, the resurface. Yeah, it's just 2 to 3. Is Matt still here? It's 2 to 3 weeks away.
I saw his guys pulling up, parking blocks,
Curbs, yeah.
protectors, whatever.
I saw some trucks down
So
there.
they were,
So I wonder if they were getting close.
I think we're getting prepped.
I have one other
Curb to
thing.
curb.
I have one other thing,
Yes.
real quick. I want to thank the staff I stopped by one day and they were having a farewell party for Dawn. And she has a new job. And Chris, she's going to be working where?
OSCA, it's the Office of State Court Administrator. So basically, our clerk, when we had our own clerk here, she relied on OSCA for training, for help, information. And so she's going to be part of a team that is helping municipal clerks, and I believe also circuit clerks,
I was
deputy clerks.
very happy for her, and the staff gave her a nice send-off.
Yes.
It was very nice.
She did an excellent job for us.
Yes, she did.
And Kathy, I heard that parking passes for the Jeep Invasion are here,
Yes, ma'am.
and has notice gone out to the residents that they need to come here?
We've already had some come and get them, yes.
Okay. Because that was another thing with the Bike Fest, we didn't get our resident passes. Paul Lodge had to go find them for our neighborhood.
All right, staff, any communications, chief?
I would just say we have Jeep Invasion right around the corner. We don't have a clue what to expect. It sounds like Branson had their first Jeep Invasion this year, and they had somewhere, if I remember the numbers right, they had somewhere around 1,000 registered, and they had about double show up. We have, last I heard, we have somewhere around just slightly less than 500 registered. So, I mean, we could have 500 or we could have 2,000. For us, the main issue will be Friday, closing the road down for Friday, much like the first day of the car show or second day of the car show. Jeeps in and out only, obviously open to pedestrian traffic, and then at Friday night sometime we'll open that back up. It'll be open for the rest of the weekend.
When
so.
is the parade?
Well, they're kind of doing their parade, more of a cruise, Friday evening, sometime around 7 or 8 o'clock. Now, they're hoping to organize a parade somewhere in the area with all of the Jeeps that want to participate. They asked us if we would be open to that, and we asked them to go to Osage Beach. If they have 2,000 Jeeps, we don't have a road or a road system here that's going to allow for 2,000 Jeeps to go through at one time. It would stop all traffic in our city. So, and really, all jokes aside, Osage Beach probably doesn't want that either. That's just too many vehicles in one. You know, unfortunately, if they decide to all group up in a group of 1,000 or more, there's nothing really we can do about it. They'll just have to stop at the stoplights and stop signs. So, we're eager to see what this event brings. We're staffed and ready for Friday. My fear is what I've told people before is I think this will be a wonderful event, but my fear is it's going to be so wonderful that next year just goes off the hook. And so Gatlinburg, I think, is at maybe their 8th year, and they had like 12,000 Jeeps. I may have those numbers backwards, but either way, it's a lot. So we'll just see what happens.
I understand they're giving a Jeep away.
To a veteran, yep. They've got a custom built, and some of these Jeeps are $100,000 Jeeps. They're not your average Jeep that you just go pick up off the lot. They've customized them, and but yeah, they're giving a custom Jeep to a veteran, and he doesn't know it yet. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but it should be neat.
And he's gonna be the Grand Marshal.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I
That the veteran.
Yeah.
And I would too. I would just encourage any of these events that y'all haven't been to yet, including Bike Fest. Come down and see what it is that that happens in our streets after dark. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's interesting. It certainly brings, an uptick in revenue, but it has challenges it brings that we try to, handle as it comes. But either way, we're almost there.
Very good, thank you. And we were over in Osage Beach twice and stopped at the Harley location where they've got the vendor village. And I'd never seen that many bikes parked along the right of way. I mean, I didn't get back over there Saturday afternoon, but a friend of mine sent me a picture, and it had grown since we were there. They were all the way past Midwest Block, correct? It's crazy. On both sides of the road, on the right of
All the
way.
way to KK at one point.
Did they get to KK?
Not
Quite.
Halfway there.
That's still, that's thousands of bikes. Okay, any other staff comments tonight? No? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All right, I had a motion from Alderman Francesco and Thompson. All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Not a problem.